welcome along. We're here with Mick Storch from 4PS and Mackay Safety and talking about mining and quarrying. Mick, it's amazing what you do in both these spaces. Tell us a little bit about or tell us what you mainly do for the mining industry.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. It's mainly for safety services, so either supplying safety advisors or on-site safety people, or systems and processes, particular for quarrying type things. So.
And in the mining industry, you're held in very high regard and have a lot of experience. I understand from conversation with you that a lot of the time they're actually coming to you for review. Yeah,
so particularly in the coal mining industry, they've got established systems and processes because the coal mining legislation drives that really well. And because it's so well established, then eventually there's a requirement for review and updates and things like that. So generally for the coal mine operator, we get asked to come and do like reviews of risk assessments and procedures to make sure they're still relevant and comply with the requirements of legislation. And then the other part of it is that we would supply safety people to them to do a bit of contractor management as such, and help them out on jobs, projects particularly.
Awesome. And have you found over time that you really can improve the current system or improve the current policies and procedures to help?
Interesting question. Depending on what they require, over time your focus and the way that you see that safety should work changes. So I'm pretty much in the view now that it has to be more simpler, but more clear and concise. So particularly around risk stuff and like that. Everybody has an opinion about risk management, but mine is not copying and pasting every line, essentially the same line's the same with the second line and repeating, like PPE all the time. You should say it once, unless it's very specialised type thing. So being clear and concise in those type of things then will start to drive better quality procedures and manuals as such. But it is not easy, and it does take time to do, and you really need to think hard about it and about trying to make that clear and concise information as such.
And like you say, things change over time. A lot of the great changes have been things becoming simpler, like FOPs, for example, where falling object protection on light vehicles.
Yeah, so it's always a challenge. Like, it's trying to reduce, but not try to go too far and make it more easier for people. So definitely having like standards or clear instructions. So it doesn't matter if it's a standard procedure, policy, or whatever it is. Like, clearly tell me what I need to do, and then I will go and do it. The problem is if we expect people to interpret what that means and not be clear enough on it, then I think, in my view, is that it is where people run into problems, whether how they comply and a lot of times with those sorts of things.
And as you say, not having the understanding, or perhaps a skewed interpretation, leads to a less safe policy.
Yeah, the industry probably struggles a bit with that experience. Depending on what people think, but essentially the downturn took a lot of the really experienced people out there, and it's not taking away from the people that are on site now, but you don't know what you don't know. And so I think that the industry needs to start to look back to that history, because and the reason I can say that is we're having repeat incidents, repeat problems that weren't there. They were got rid of. So people will argue about what that is and what causes those things, but in the end, people are getting hurt, which is not right.
Simple as that. And as you've said before, safety it needs 100% dedication. It needs to be simple. It needs to be understood, and it never ever sleeps. It's got to be addressed the entire time. Yeah,
correct. And that's probably why we do quite a lot of work for the mining services contractors. So essentially in Mackay, we stay in our lane. We are safety people, or systems people and processes, but it's ultimately we're safety people. So we only supply safety people to our services contractors. So we do a lot of like dragline shutdowns, wash plant shutdowns, construction jobs, all above ground type equipment, above ground type work. The contractors are sort of struggling to find those safety people, so we tend to supply to the services contractors here in Mackay, Gladstone, Rockhampton area type things. Yeah, so.
And that's obviously also led into doing a lot of work in the quarrying industry and the quarry sector. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I think the quarry industry has a lot more challenges because it's not as clear from a legislation point of view about what they should do. So coal mining is very clear about the legislation, says you need to do these things. I say the problem, but the problem with the quarrying type thing is that it has to cater from one person digging a hole in the gem fields up to a large quarry that has 150 or 200 people working at it. So, and there's some variables in there, but in the end, if something goes wrong, then it's ultimately the requirements of the legislation for that. So what we've been doing is helping those quarrying businesses, probably sort of small mediums again, do systems and processes and making sure that they've got the right procedures and manuals and things in it. And then ultimately, my long-term view of particular for quarrying more than mining is that they can systemize with digital forms and because they're a mum and dad organisation a lot of times, so they're more open and more acceptable versus a corporate business that they're down their paths of whatever they do. But for us as a small sort of business, medium business, to go into those things is that they're small people, they're good adapters when you can say, oh, look, we're going to save you a heap of time, we're going to do real-time reporting and things like that. So the small quarry operators are good particularly for the digital software, and we're also finding the contract services contractors in the mining and things are sort of the better adopters of the type of services that we supply from a digital point of view.
Simple as that. And also you understand what they need and how to give it to them rather than have them with policies and procedures that are either irrelevant or... Yeah,
correct. So it's always about the end game, where success and what success looks like. And success is around the systems and processes that you need to be at the end. And so making sure that they're set up at the beginning. And then, along the way, you'll have a bump. That's where our safety bill come in or our advice comes in, and we say, well, we need to do these things to prevent that from happening. So in the end, that people go home safely and the jobs are finished successfully and people, are happy, basically. So. And
I suppose looking at how the quarry industry and quarrying is sort of playing catch up a little bit, I suppose, to some of the other industries, would that be correct?
Again, it's probably a personal opinion, but the quarrying does struggle a little bit about understanding and getting the right types of support and things like that. The mining industry, coal mining in particular, obviously very clear and concise about what that legislation says, whereas while it's clear there, but it's a bit sort of flexible. It's probably not the right word, but that's why you sort of need to go and say, well, every business should have this type of system in place. Policies, manuals, procedures, JSAs or SWIMs or whatever it is, inspection sheets, and then you got to collect those records and check it and type thing. So in a nutshell, that's what I think the quarrying industry is trying to do. And there's quite a big focus from the government's point of view back onto quarries as well.
Yes, and also where Mackay Safety really can help people understand or help the industry understand how to adapt and how to evolve with the moving times.
That's correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, thanks, Mick. Great to have you along.
Awesome, mate. Thank you.